You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian, and the ceiling. No, it's just Keith over there, Mr. Cheat Ham.
Cheat ham! Cheat ham!
Cheat Ham.
I tell you, you cheat that ham real good.
He brought us some goodies tonight.
We got goodies. We got treats.
Right there on the.
We got Ryan guys.
This ain't coming from North Carolina.
We got some Ryan. Well, that's from Cincy.
It's coming from Cincinnati.
That's right.
Ryan guys Cincy made right there. It's
Cincinnati.
Bubbles Rose Ale.
And some of the
Something a little
finest.
something a little different.
Also, some of the finest refreshments that you can get at any
There you go.
fast food restaurant.
Fazoli's breadsticks. That's the king of breadsticks right there.
No.
Right.
Tell
You should
everybody.
explain that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, that
yeah.
looks so.
We didn't
Look at
just
that.
go
all
to
the
Fazoli's.
carbs.
Yeah,
All
look
the
at that. Hold on,
carbs.
here we go.
Oh my gosh! Look at him
Oh.
just tear into that.
Are they hot?
No, not
Are they-
anymore.
Are they bottomless?
They're not hot anymore.
Oh, bottomless. What if we had? Oh man!
My
If we
father,
had the
Josh.
original Dixie,
May I have a paper towel, sir?
I'll take. Hold on. Oh, you need one? All right, here.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me hand you the paper towel,
They're greasy too.
and then
They
I'll
are nice
def-
and greasy.
I
Unhealthy.
shouldn't be doing this.
We're cheating. We're cheating bad.
I got to run the mini next week,
Nope.
but I'm.
Carb load. You gotta load your carbs.
That's it. That's it. Hey,
Carbo load.
that's the perfect. This.
No, my mom had been at the hospital all day with my dad. He had his
Oh, you guys.
surgery.
We can have two each.
Yeah.
We can, yeah.
Awesome.
He had his surgery on his knee again, so everybody say a prayer for my father.
Yes,
But she hadn't
I'm
eaten
gonna
all
ask
day,
Saint
so
Christopher to watch after him.
before, yes, please do. Saint Stewart. Before the show, I ran and got her some dinner because she hadn't eaten all day. So
You're
that's
such a
where
good-
that's where the breadsticks
You
came
are.
from. Because
Good
Sean
son.
and Brandon, they were like, "Get us bread." They were like little kids. Get us some breadsticks, Daddy. Get us some breadsticks. So
I mean, it
got
was
some
just one of those
breadsticks.
things that was the
Yeah.
first thing I thought of.
Exactly.
I couldn't
You
help
say
it.
Fazoli's,
You
that's
said
all I
Fazoli's.
think
I was
of.
like,
breadsticks.
breadsticks.
That
Forgot.
lady, she has to still be there. I don't know. The breadstick lady.
I would hire her at Red Moon.
Our whole life.
She'd
this
be the only
lady-
paid employee at Red Moon.
She worked.
just to bring us
She would
breadsticks.
go around the whole dining room every Sunday asking about the hot
She'll
bread.
just complain about not making enough money.
Not this one.
I don't think she will.
This one did it from
She's
the
been
heart.
at Fazoli's for her life, so she's a lifer, just like
Yeah,
the Dairy
lifer.
Queen. There's an old
There
old
is.
lady at Dairy Queen.
There's
that's
only
been-
one Dairy Queen.
She's the Dairy Queen.
That
she's,
one Dairy
She's
Queen.
been there since we've been in high school, and she is the Dairy Queen.
She
Oh,
is
yeah.
the Dairy
How
Queen.
depressing is that? To be a lifer at Fazoli's.
Hey,
It's like, I'm in it for life. I'm going
Well-
career.
ride or die, baby.
That's right.
Ride or die for Zoli
Yeah.
breadstick.
I'm going to get these breadsticks out.
But this
Till I
bubbles. Is this,
Bubbles is a rose ale, man. Rose ale.
We are five
Ale with
partaking-
apple, peach, and cranberry, and I
I can
taste all
taste
three
it.
of
I
them.
can taste the cranberry.
Oh, the
definitely.
cranberry
Oh,
is
yeah.
that sour after.
It's very
yeah.
tart.
Yeah.
But we're partaking in these fine accoutrements.
Mhm.
I think I
After
get most of the apple up front,
Lent
and then
is
that
ended.
cranberry hits in the after.
Easter Sunday, he is
Cool.
risen.
Mm.
He is risen indeed.
Risen.
Hallelujah.
Risen.
How did y'all spend your all's Easter? Did y'all have a good Easter?
Yeah.
I did the normal thing. Church, family,
Easter egg hunt.
Easter egg hunt, of course.
Gosh, that is tart.
Yeah.
Eat your breadstick.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I got together with the family. We had the dinner and Easter eggs for the kids, and it was all fun. And Saturday night, before Resurrection Sunday, we got one last sin in, and me and Sean held hands in the theater watching Father's Day.
Oh,
yeah.
that was so sweet.
But yeah, which is our review this week, obviously, Father's Day. It was fitting. There was a bigger release this week, the Fantastic or something Dumbledore Secrets.
Could you really
I
call it
don't
a
know.
bigger release?
Well, it was bigger than Father's too. Sadly, still.
Well,
but
we'll see a couple.
Um,
We'll see because WB doesn't think so.
yeah, well, it wasn't a big release, but it was the bigger of the two.
That'll be our
But
headline. One of our
Father's
headlines this
2
week.
was more fitting for the holiday weekend, and honestly, it was the better movie. I had a copy of Fantastic Beasts.
I
That,
saw that.
Yeah, well, it's just it's a cam. It's very poor.
What are you talking about? No. We only get screeners here at Red Moon.
Yeah.
We only get screeners.
I was curious.
It was someone
and,
who went and saw it on the screen.
Yes.
And they recorded it.
I will say it's not worth seeing. That's why I didn't want to pay for it.
I gotta admit, I don't like my hair tonight. It's swooped
I
over.
don't know what you're doing.
I was wearing a
Looks
toboggan
good.
all
Looks good.
day, and so I've got hat hair, very, very bad hat hair, and it looks.
you're
I look like I'm trying
literally
to.
the only one that has style right now.
No, I'm trying to go for an interview. So if you all could hire me at Red Moon, that'd be great. And I'll just keep working away here,
You're
trying to
hired.
do what I can.
We want you
switching.
to be the director.
I
We're just going to hire you as the director.
gladly accept.
Okay.
Thank you. I mean, this is the only place I've worked at where they let you drink on the job. This is freaking great.
Yeah.
This is awesome. It's great to work here,
And
right?
breadsticks.
Keith is not impressed.
He's like, I'm still like getting paid.
I'm just eating my breadstick and enjoying
I wasn't
this.
impressed by that movie I watched last night.
He's like,
I fell
they
asleep
let us
in the
drink
middle of
beer
it.
on the job, but I'm the one who bought it.
Yeah.
That's
so-
true. He did provide.
Hey, but I got to drink it.
Is this beer better than that movie last night, Fantastic Beasts? And what
I will
was
say, I agree with the critics. Mads Mikkelsen was way better than Johnny Depp.
it? Okay.
But that's about the only.
Johnny Depp's in court right now.
Yeah.
It wasn't it's not the Secrets of Dumbledore.
Dumbledore,
What?
yeah.
No, there was a different.
The
title.
Crimes of Grindelwald was the second one.
No. There was a different one you had sent me. I can't remember.
The Closet of Dumbledore?
No. It was
No,
different.
it was something I'm not going to say on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to get him to say
Yeah.
it, but he
I'm
won't
not going to say
it.
that on the podcast. I'll tell you after the show, Sean.
or during the review.
Actually, I can do that.
Yeah, here, let's get into our
This
review
is
of.
the good movie because
Yeah.
Fantastic Beasts was bad.
This will be a good one to talk about, too. Here is our review of Father Stu.
While most people may be going to see the latest in the Fantastic Beast franchise this weekend, a smaller film more befitting the Easter holiday has also released. While it may get overlooked for the larger franchise entry, Father Stu is worth taking a chance on. Directed by Rosalind Ross and based on a true story, the movie stars Mark Wahlberg as Stuart Long, a middle-aged amateur boxer down on his luck, whose life continues to go from bad to worse, usually due to his own poor decisions. Stu's only brother died at a young age, and his father, Bill, played by Mel Gibson, was a deadbeat who walked out on the family. Stu's mother, Kathleen, portrayed by Jackie Weaver, convinces Stu to give up boxing when it becomes detrimental to his health. Stu moves to LA to become an actor when he meets Carmen, played by Tara Ruiz. Immediately stricken by Carmen, Stu stalks her all the way to church, where he at first mocks God, then slowly begins a relationship with God. After a life-altering experience, Stu decides to set his sights on priesthood. But Stu's misfortunes persist as he faces seemingly insurmountable odds over and over again. A story about faith, perseverance, grace, and redemption through sacrifice, Father Stu seems like a perfect fit for Easter weekend, and it does offer a hopeful message about each of the themes I mentioned. Mark Wahlberg is honestly a perfect fit for Father Stu. The Boston native is no stranger to foul-mouthed personas, and watching a character that feels so much like Wahlberg himself change into a man of faith, flaws and all, is definitely one of the highlights of the film. As Wahlberg is so often hit or miss, his passion for the project shines through. Stu's relationship with his father, Bill, as played by Mel Gibson, is another part of the film that bears praise. Gibson's role as a man who turned away from God due to one son's passing, and the reconciliation of faith through the tragedies of his only remaining son, is a powerful message. Much of what makes the film work seems to stem from the fact that the film was a passion project that Wahlberg spent 6 years trying to get made. But no one in Hollywood would touch the movie. Ultimately paying to fund the film himself and shot in 30 days, Father Stu is not the most polished film. Sadly, while the movie has a great message, some of it gets lost in the film's weak dialogue and generic rhetoric. Often, religious conversations feel like generic feel-good messages that those unfamiliar with Christians expect good Christians to say, and many secondary characters revolving around the Catholic Church itself feel underdeveloped and only serve as a minor roadblock for Stu along his way. With some shallow depictions of faith and one scene during Stu's life-altering experience coming off as bizarre rather than miraculous, despite the logical way the film tries to play it later, the movie isn't the punch in the emotions one really wants, and doesn't nail its message in the most powerful or effective way. The film is a bit too cluttered and unfocused, but the most important story beats are done well, and the movie does ultimately land its message. It's once again a movie that does not reinvent the wheel, but is another refreshing change of pace with subject matter Hollywood will no longer touch. While I wish Wahlberg had gotten more support and resources to put into this film, not all its faults can be placed solely on lack of backing. A tighter script and a director with bigger vision could have done the movie wonders. However, the themes from what Wahlberg did manage to produce have still stuck with me. For that, I give Father Stu 3 out of 4 stars.
3 out of 4 stars.
Yeah.
For Father Stu. And the conversation we were just having,
I can't concentrate.
it has nothing to do with this movie.
No.
And
Papa Stewart!
it is far from the values of this movie.
This was a good movie, though. Father Stu was a good movie.
It was.
It was a good
Fantastic
movie.
Beasts is not. Don't watch it. Go watch Father Stu.
That is not endorsed by the Red Moon
I
Podcast.
don't endorse it.
No,
They
no
try-
Fantastic Beasts.
They tried to course correct, and they failed miserably.
Well, and they've honestly been course correcting since. Well, truth be told, the first Harry Potter
But you have to
saga.
be. Oh, I was gonna say you have to be on course to course
True.
correct.
That
Yeah,
is
I don't
true.
Feel like this was ever.
Fantastic Beasts was the first one was okay.
It was okay.
It was okay.
It was the only one that got good critic reviews.
But we'll talk about that.
Right.
Let's talk about Father Stu because I think we got some divisions amongst us.
I don't
And
think so. We're
not,
all
not-
pretty.
I mean, it's all praise worthy, but
Yeah.
I don't think we're all in the same. I think I liked it a little bit better than you all did.
Yeah.
I ended up giving it 3.5.
Yeah, you did.
Out of 4 stars. However, you gave it 3.
I
Our
gave it only
official
3.
review. Sean, do you agree?
I gave it 3. Also.
3 out
gave
of
it
okay.
3, yeah.
Let's dive
So
in.
2 out
Let's
of
talk
3
about it.
threes is officially a 3.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, you want me to fight it?
Sometimes you do. I was just waiting to see. No.
Hey, we have always
will
gone
tell
with
you
the
why-
adage that your review is the official review of the podcast.
Yeah, that's not always good either, but that's okay.
I know. Finding Dory.
We'll go back 2 years from now and be like, oh my gosh, you
Why
gave
did-
Father Stu 3 stars.
Should have given it 4.
Yeah. No, for me, it was just a little. I mean, and it was. It's a 2-hour-long movie. There are a lot of characters. It does span a larger scope of his life, from basically his lowest point till when he does finally become, the priest and gets the news about like his disease that's uncurable and different things like that. Spoiler alert,
Yeah.
sorry. It's based on a true story, so
Look it up.
I mean, I tend to not
Google it.
worry about true stories as much, so I apologize. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted a little bit more meat in certain areas, and not that it was poorly done, and especially with how much was in it. Like, I know Malcolm McDowell's character and then the other pastor that he first meets, like, because, I mean, they have some decent relationship there, but I don't feel like there was a lot of depth with either of them, though they both served their purpose brilliantly. Like, I thought story-wise they were fine. And then some of the jargon, the rhetoric, theologically wise, was pretty generic, which in some ways I think is good, and in other ways I just kind of wish, not so much like when Carmen says some generic things, but I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
She's a regular person, like going to church. Sometimes I've heard other Christians that attend church say some pretty generic things before. I mean,
Well, and it's funny.
Some people think they're more knowledgeable than they are, and some people are really knowledgeable.
I took what she
so-
was saying to Stu at the time before he was a priest as
Right.
kind of a trying to get him into the fold.
Yes, yeah.
More so, trying to welcome him in.
It was one of those things where it's like that was kind of fine, but when it came to the actual pastors, I kind of felt like some of the things they said
True.
like weren't exactly something I would think a pastor would say. I think they would have a little bit more like not like wisdom to the words. Not that, and again, it might have been like Sean had stated before that this just reaches a wider audience of people who may not know certain things about Christianity or Catholicism.
True.
And I agree with that. I just kind of thought some of it was just a little generic.
Yeah, I kind of felt like how the scripture talks about you go from the milk to the meat, and as you grow,
See, I
as
want
a
the meat.
Christian, yeah, but that's because you've already grown as a Christian, so it's kind of like
I've had the
I
milk.
think- that's right. I feel like people
the
going
beer.
into the movie may not, the
Yeah.
wider audience
They
is
ain't got
probably
the
not
milk yet.
necessarily, yeah. So it is talking to them from a newer perspective.
I like how you pulled from the Bible and made a good point. That's a good
Well,
one.
but that's one thing the movie just didn't do.
Oh, yeah. But it was
They-
still
they
good,
they
though.
opened-
Like,
they
I mean, I
didn't-
gave it 3
I don't
stars.
know if they opened the Bible once in the movie, but that was.
I don't think they ever quote the Bible directly.
I don't think they did,
but
quote
they
the Bible
definitely had,
directly.
I think, verses or at least paraphrases.
Sure,
Especially,
yeah.
I know Carmen did specifically.
Yeah. And I mean, there are things I really loved about the movie. I liked his relationship with his father, Mel Gibson. I thought was really well acted. I love showing him, like that's something you, like we mentioned, you're not going to get in a Pure Flix film or a Christian produced movie. I love showing him be like he's dropping F-bombs and he's just horrible person and his kind of growth. And even when he first, like when he becomes a pastor, he's still cussing, maybe not as badly as before, but still. And I kind of like, it shows his humanity because it kind of, that was his point was, I'm someone who's been in the dirt and I can reach people who are in the dirt because I can say, look where I was and where I am now.
Right.
And I'm like, that is a true human story. And I do appreciate it for not sugarcoating it the way I think like a Christian produced film would have.
But it also does show a very quick change in his belief and then a gradual change in his who he is and what he thinks and what he says.
Yeah.
And I think that and then it also shows, again, it goes back to something that I don't relate to with the confession to a priest, but it does show him confessing, which shows that he's trying to repent. And I think that that's a big part of Christianity. You can't, you got to forgive yourself before you can even worry about forgiving others. But you can't forgive yourself unless you understand that Christ has forgiven you. But then also, daily we need to be able to say, I said that. I shouldn't have said that. I thought this. I shouldn't have thought that. I am sorry.
I was wrong.
Yeah, I was wrong, and I'm going to try to do better.
Right.
And that's the biggest part of the turning away is I don't think anybody can just seriously say, I'm never ever going to think that thought again. I'm never ever going to say those words again.
I mean, we're human.
But
like, you try not to, but you are going to fail.
You don't realize you're doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
And once you have that and you realize that this is, I feel like the power of the Holy Spirit convicts you of your wrongdoing, and you do try to backtrack. You do try to apologize. You do
repent,
and you say, thank you for forgiving me, because you already know that you've been forgiven. And I think the movie does a great job of pointing out that big part of forgiveness. And I did like that. What I didn't find was enough of the relationship between him and his dad. I feel like it is rushed into the movie with him going to try to borrow his dad's truck. And I feel like you don't get anything until then. That supposedly they hadn't seen each other in over a decade, and it's like, and that's how you show up, and they just start clicking again. Even though the clicking is them going back and forth at each other, I felt like, okay, well, we didn't really get any sense of this relationship from when he was a kid.
It's weird because I think part of that was, I agree. I think it was intentional because they were trying to do it comedically and it didn't really pay off. Because even the mom has the whole line of like, "You're gonna go see your dad while you're out there," and he was like, "Psh, no."
Yeah.
With the way they play it off, it's like he's gonna see his dad while he's out there.
Well, of course.
It kind of the type of person he is and the trouble he gets into. He's looking for trouble, and so he knows one stop of trouble is gonna be interacting with his dad. But I agree, it was kind of like, oh wait, now they just suddenly run into each other, like because he knows where he works or he finds them. Like I that if there was one flaw I had for the movie and why I knocked off the half star, it was because, and I don't know if I really knocked it too much simply because I thought it did a good job of hitting all of, I think, the sentimental notes and the important parts of this person's life, as I believe it's supposed to be faithful to Father Stu's real life story. It's based on a true story. But ultimately, because it was showing him going from like this degenerate vagabond to kind of a, again, this very faithful, devout, and truly grace-filled person who truly just, it was funny because it was like he got, in his mind, the sense of the victory out of, you're telling me I can't do this and I'm going to. So it was almost like somebody challenging him that he couldn't be a priest and the ultimate Christian. He was like, I'm going to show you I'm the ultimate Christian. But it was funny how much he took that to heart to the extent that he did, that it reshaped his life, and not only his life, but his family's life. Yeah. And I think for that message to be encompassed in just, 2 hours is a lot of time, but 2 hours for such I think, a very endearing and ultimately very challenging story is very hard to do. And I think they articulated it well enough, but there were subtle moments where I was like, it was definitely okay, we're focusing on the bad parts of his life or the bad boy aspect. Okay, we're jumping a lot through the bad boy aspect. There's a lot of stuff we're covering here.
does kinda
now we're
jump
in the
through.
priest phase. Oh, we're jumping through a lot of the phases where he's in seminary. It was very much like I will say by the end of the film, I felt like it wasn't rushed. I felt like it was intentional the way they spent the amount of time they did on each part of his life. But as you're watching it for the first time, I was like, okay, yeah, this can seem a little bit jarring and a little bit, too much.
Well, I agree with that. I just felt like the beginning part of the film where it is showing the lost part of his life, I feel like it spent so much time showing that, and it gave a little bit too little to how he. I don't know what all is taught in Catholic seminary like that, but it's like they gave you a couple of basketball games and they gave you a couple of meetings with Malcolm McDowell, but then it's like there's really not a whole lot of learning that you see that process.
True.
I wish they would have equaled the parts out a little bit more than given the first major portion of the film is his bad guy days, and then he falls in love, and that starts to rotate into the church thing, and at first he's doing it just because of her, and then it's I get all of that, but there was for him to have such a profound belief and profoundly like good teaching style by the end of the film, I'm like, I want to see how he got that. I wanted to see a little bit more of that because I felt like as an audience member, if I was there and I was someone who is new to all of this, new to Christianity, and I'm a lost person sitting there watching this, I kind of want to know where he got that from, and I kind of want to know a little bit more
life experience.
Well,
too, that he was able to
I
correlate.
know that, but you've got to have the word, and you've got to have good leaders teaching you before you don't just up and pull a Paul on the road to Damascus and get struck down with the Holy Spirit, and all of a sudden
But he did.
Well, I was gonna say, but who could say that?
I know,
because we've all been in that position.
Not, but in his life, in the real story, he was in seminary for a long time,
right?
Yeah.
And this shows 25 minutes of it. So I just wish there would have been more to explain. How he got from A to B.
It's weird because it's like I would agree. I don't think, but it's weird. Because I'm like, for the type of movie that it is and what it sets out to show you, it couldn't dive as deep as I would have liked to have seen in that movie. But at the same time, I'm like, if it took that 180 turn and showed you that depth, which I think is hinted at and shown, because I do think while they skip over pivotal moments of maybe the teaching or the learning, they show you his change in attitude throughout that process.
No doubt, yeah.
And I think that's supposed to substitute for the substance that you can't necessarily spend, because then it could have been a 3-4 hour movie.
Well,
and I think at some point you got to kind of pull back on the reins and say, what movie are we making here, and is this really the focal point, or is the focal point the amazing circumstance of this person taking a 180 in his life when somebody would have easily looked at him at this stage and said, "There's no way he's just." They would just write him off.
I think that's also part of the purpose of having the other guy who was going through seminary at the same time juxtaposed against him for that foil, because I loved the scene at the end. And I mean, I think it kind of shows you, like,
beautiful
by having that contrast. Even though you don't get to see all the learning, you do get a feel of, here's a guy who was raised to basically become a pastor. His father was one. He was raised. He was going to be one. And at the end, like, he tells him, it's like, I prayed for God to give me an out. God kept giving you outs, and you refused to take them. And I think, like, having that contrast was kind of just added to his showing his determination and his actual conviction that it wasn't just a phase. So even though you didn't get the learning, you got the point that no matter what was going on while he was learning, he was determined to make it happen. So I did appreciate that they kind of make up for it in that way a little bit, in that, like, this was someone who was bound and determined to become as good as he was, no matter what. So through his newfound conviction, and that was part of a message I really liked too. So
well, and I also can't deny the fact that, I mean, any good dramatic movie does best, when it actually makes you feel those emotions that it's seeking to, and this no doubt did. I mean, there was probably at least a good 3 or 4 parts that I was choking back and holding the tears because there was one other set of people in the audience with me. I mean, the theater was completely blank. It was kind of nice, except for this one couple. Well, I don't want to say it was like a father-daughter.
Me and Keith were the only couple there.
Yeah, we were the only 2 people in the whole
see,
theater.
yeah, and it's funny because I'm like, I honestly do think I think this is going to be one of those movies that sees success by word of mouth. Because
it was
obviously
always a smaller film, anyways.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg basically funded most of it. He's like, I was watching,
and I will say production value wise for that
good.
Knowing that it was very small production, you couldn't tell it.
He said he spent over
It
6
was shot
years.
very well.
He said he spent over 6 years trying to get it made, and no one else in Hollywood would make it. Shocker. So finally, he footed most of the bill and got it made. And I mean, I do think. Again, I'm not trying to give it a pass. I do think with a better director with more vision, the movie could have been a little bit more of an emotional powerhouse. But for what it was, with what he had to work with, I think they did an excellent job. I do think.
Well,
could have
it
just
looked
had
no
a few
further
tweaks.
than I mean, to be honest with you, it's just like I think. Look no further than the Rotten Tomatoes scores. You could see the stark contrast between the critics.
95 audience score and a 45 critic score.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not that bad.
And there's
I don't know
no
what,
way.
I don't even know what critics are going
Well,
on.
and I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I always do have that reservation to err on the side of critics when it comes to faith-based films.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that
They
I
hated
know
Signs too, and I love Signs.
Oh yeah. but it's like, to me, there is this cringe factor of knowing, am I going to get this Christian-made film like A God's Not Dead to pat yourself on the back and, as a Christian and act like you're holier than thou? And hey, I told Keith, I said the one thing I loved about this film, and again, the vulgarity of it in terms of the language and why I think it's necessary
I love seeing
for
Mark Wahlberg ripped and shirtless, and then I love seeing him at the end
when he's fat
got
and
the scrawny arms. Yeah, he's got the real thin arms, but his body.
Yeah.
And I was like, they did a good job here.
Actually, I thought the
His
makeup
neck
there.
and chin fat.
I thought that
It was some of it was a little.
that was
sketchy.
was the part where I thought was a little cringeworthy. Was some of the
Some of it was a little
fatness.
sketchy,
Yeah.
but
Looked
But
like
no,
the Nutty
I-
Professor.
I think it's like you end up seeing these films growing up that people want to praise because, again, it's like you get them in Christian circles and they don't show you reality.
Nope.
And what I think it is great about seeing a film from someone like Mel Gibson and someone like Mark Wahlberg who take their faith seriously, they ultimately want to make sure that I think they've been through struggles in their life that have tested their faith. And it's clearly seen in this film.
Oh yeah.
And no doubt does that resonate more with me and evoke the emotions that I think it was seeking to evoke much more simply based on that alone. When I see A God's Not Dead, I just roll my eyes and I laugh because I'm like, these are written, you can tell the script was written to make you feel like, oh, well, of course, I'm going to be the Christian sitting there alone in the classroom and get, mocked and be, but what if I stand up and I raise and shout to the heaven? And it's like,
I don't
no,
even think it's that. I think those movies are literally for you to sit there and say, yep, I'm right.
Yeah, that
I
too.
mean, literally.
No,
I'm
absolutely.
going to heaven.
When every point the kid makes to his professor, you're just like, yep, I already knew that. And it's
Right.
like, yeah, exactly. It's not to give you the courage to stand and be that kid.
Right.
It's just for you to sit there and exactly like you said, pat yourself on the back because you already
You
know
don't
this.
see, and it's like, it's so sad because it's like throughout that whole movie, you see Kevin Sorbo being tested, and then it's like at the very end he
Very
gets
end,
hit
he's
by a
gonna
car,
die.
and all of a
All
sudden
of a
it's
sudden,
life-threatening,
yeah.
and then he's like, oh, now I'm going to give my life to Christ. And I'm like, the impact is not there as someone like this who literally makes this decision, and it's like throughout his life, he's continuing to find ways in which he can, again, turn the corner, and by no virtue of the fact that he just wants to selfishly do it, but through that, God's perfectness works through his imperfectness. And it's such a beautiful story. And I'm sorry,
Well,
but when I'm seeing like the effect that it not only has on him, but then the effect that it has on his parents and through Mel Gibson. And I love that Mel Gibson is an ardent asshole throughout the entire film.
Yep.
And it's not until he truly comes to face the absolute sudden, news of his second son having to die and on this deathbed that he's going to have to face and it's like, here's this man who's just been completely down on life ever since his first son died. And, what is it's like he had this whole other son to live for and he didn't. He chose to treat him like a pariah and to be an outcast. and pushed him out of his life, and now he realizes he's going to lose him, and you would think he's going to call it a day, and he's close to it. And it's only when he finally loses that last son that he turns and sees the face of God and the grace of God. And I just, there's just nothing more beautiful than that. I'm sorry. I just, there were several moments at the end of the film that I choked up because of that father-son relationship, and then I'm comparing it to God the Father and Jesus the Son, and it's just absolutely magnificent and tremendous. And I think for me, if there was any movie I was going to turn an unbeliever onto, it would be this film. And I would say, no, I don't expect you to get saved or to somehow have that thunderstruck moment. No, but it shows you, I think, the reality of what most people are going through. And I love the interaction between Mark Wahlberg and the random guy at the bar. And it wasn't even like he was a Jesus figure. Mm-hmm. He was just an AA.
Yeah.
And I love that too. He's like, he has this whole exchange with him, and Mark Wahlberg's like, dude, you're like little like pushy and like getting a little too deep over here. I'm just here to have a drink. And he gets up and walks away, and he's like, what was that guy having? And he's like, water. Yeah. It was you could say it was cliche. But I loved it. I loved the whole scene. I loved the way it played out. It could have been done very terribly, but I love the way it was written and the way that it was played out. And I thought it was very, very impactful.
No, I mean, that when that scene was over, I kept thinking maybe that wasn't even a guy.
Yeah,
like maybe that was
spiritual.
Spiritual, yeah, exactly. So,
I don't know. For me, it was definitely 3.5. There was definitely, I can't wait to watch it again. I sent that text to you all when I walked out of the theater. I sent it to my family, and I was just like, I want them to see it, because I think it's, it's funny because I think movies like this too need to be represented in terms of pushed forward in our culture, especially from Christians who may be on the side of, well, it has all this dirty language, and I don't really, and I'm just like, look, you got to get beyond that, because at the end of the day, your kids, your people, you're facing reality out there.
Go home and
show
world. Sawyer and Andrew this movie.
I'm not. Yeah.
Did I say that? I didn't say that.
No. But again, to that point, you go to work every day, and you hear people talk like that.
Oh yeah.
We talk like that. From time to time. You encounter people in your family, and yes, even people at your church, maybe outside the church.
I'm sure, yeah.
But again,
I can name names.
It's not like you haven't heard it before.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between you seeing it in a movie?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like there are some people that are like, well, if this is supposed to be a religious-oriented movie, then it shouldn't have that in there. And that's where I agree with you 100%. Why not?
Yeah,
because
because it is. It's showing what the
exactly.
truth. It's
it's watering down the absolute majesty of what's happening in this godforsaken world.
Well, yeah,
and that's what I ultimately think is kind of. It's like, how can you think you're doing justice to the gospel if you don't inherently show it affecting the people who are the most, gluttonous, most shameful people among us?
I mean, the gospel itself goes into pretty good detail about who the disciples were before they dropped their nets and followed Jesus.
Exactly.
Matthew was a freaking tax collector. He was hated by everybody in the Jewish community. And Peter was a liar and a cheat. And I mean, all of these things. And these are the guys that built his church.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm these are the guys he chose to build his church.
And that to me is what the encompassing nature of this film was in Father Stu. It was out of the most unlikeliest of places you find how God works through his creation. And I thought it was just absolutely wonderful, just beautiful.
All right.
But 3 out of 4 stars for Father Stu. I think we would all agree to definitely go check it out. It's worth checking out.
Oh yeah,
worth watching.
Put your
go
peepers on it.
Go give it. Show it some love in the box office.
Next week we're gonna watch Nicolas Cage. It's gonna be the farthest thing from this.
Oh,
movie.
we are. Yeah, that is what we're reviewing next week. What is it? The
unbearable weight of massive talent. It does look good.
Yeah, it does. It does look good. And unfortunately, we have some sad news.
Oh no!
Might as well mention this since we're mentioning what we're going to review next week. Sean, well, it's sad, but also it'll be good news for you too. You were partaking in celebrating your wife's birthday.
You won't be here next week,
so you won't be here.
Should we wait so you can discuss the movie, or do you just want to see it this week?
Oh, you can go ahead. I mean, I'll let you know if I get few minutes to call in during the
okay.
movie discussion, I will. But I probably
Well,
won't
you're
stay
gonna
for
go
the
see
whole
the movie
show.
with us, right?
I'm going.
Well, I just say because we had that or the Northman, so I figured
I
like,
want to
if,
see
if,
both of those.
That's what I'm saying.
We're going to.
Well,
we got both
the
coming
week
up.
That's what I'm saying. Which one would you rather be here for the discussion on? Because we could wait for that one since like they're back to back.
They both come out the same
I
weekend.
say we could see the
so-
Northman this weekend and do the Unbearable Weight next weekend.
Would you guys mind doing that?
No, I don't
No,
mind.
that's what a live show is about.
See,
we make
look at
decisions
that.
on
Everybody,
cue.
we changed our minds. We're gonna wait for Nicolas Cage so Sean can discuss it with
So
us.
we'll
We're gonna
see the Northman.
Okay.
And I might back out of that one.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna like the movie, just because of the director, and I've read some stuff about how brutally realistic it is
Oh, yeah. Well,
to the
Eggers,
Viking culture.
is it Robert Eggers? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did The Witch and The Lighthouse.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm looking. I love both of those, and this is a little
think
bit
it's gonna be
different.
good.
So
It's
yeah.
gonna be freaking dark.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
looking
but
forward
even
to it.
just seeing Willem Dafoe, I'm thinking.
Oh yeah.
of,
I
just
can't
think
wait.
of the witch,
Yeah.
and I'm
Did
like,
you-
he's
did you
the
watch
devil.
The Lighthouse? Have you seen that yet, man?
I have
You
not.
gotta
Lighthouse
watch
is
that.
crazy.
I need
was
to watch
great.
it.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
of the
Well, I
movies
know
are
that
good.
that was the movie you all said once you saw it. It made you all believe Robert Pattinson could be Batman.
Oh, he was definitely.
yeah.
He was fantastic
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
That was the movie we went to see at Baxter, where somebody
Yeah,
threw
and
something
he
at the
threw
screen.
like
that
a
was-
box of candy at the screen and yelled "F you."
Well, and he kept doing it throughout the whole movie,
Yeah.
didn't he?
You could
hated the
yeah,
movie.
You could tell it was a highbrow movie, and this guy wasn't having none of it. I was like,
No.
listen,
He
guy,
was
like,
there to be a jackass.
just- I was like-
that's all he
like-
was
like,
doing.
why do you come see a movie you already know you're not gonna like? Like that's the type of person
Yeah.
he was. Like I could tell. It's like
I
you
think
already
he
know.
mentioned that it was in black and white. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you know it's in black
That's
and
what I'm
white
saying.
before you come to the
I'm like,
movie.
did you not?
freaking posters in black
I
and
was
white?
like, did you not like look at anything about this movie before
Yeah.
you came and saw it? Like I don't know.
No. Yeah, so we'll go see that Sunday, and then if we see
the
Unbearable
unbearable
Weight.
we
weight.
see Nicolas Cage the following Sunday, I will be on that show. I've got
All
my wife will be
righty.
gone because she's going to visit her brother in Boston.
Oh.
But I will be.
Neil,
I'll have a
he was
babysitter.
here just recently. You all
Yeah.
saw him a couple
Neil
weeks ago.
Bog.
Yeah.
But that's I'm glad
we'll
you're
work it
you're
out.
taking an evening off to celebrate your wife, which I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
important.
honorable. You should do that.
It's honorable.
It's,
sure.
it's, I mean, there's the podcast, and then there's your wife's birthday, and they're pretty close. So I'm glad
My wife
you're, you
will
know.
be passed out on the couch before the podcast even starts.
Now we
I
just
guarantee you.
we
Well, then
discussed
call
this
in.
a
You'll be
little
fine.
bit during text, but I want to make sure there's going to be birthday spankings, right?
I hope so.
Given to you.
It's not my birthday.
Ooh, whoa! Oh, if Amelia could only hear that.
I mean, she could.
She
if she
doesn't
ever
watch.
watched,
She doesn't watch.
she should watch.
Just
right
like my
now.
parents, they don't
That's why I can
support me.
say these things.
I'm gonna call her and be like,
fear
your husband's talking about you. Watch the show.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. I think we're ready to move on.
I
to
think
our
we
headlines.
should. We
Yeah.
should.
Can I just say real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the movie X last night.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
gonna
I-
watch that this week.
I'm
Oh my
mad
God.
that
That
we
and
skipped
Dog.
over that movie because I
We had
wanted
to
Okay,
because
because
of
of
the
whatever.
Dog is
Oscars,
good.
and I wish we could have
No,
watched
I'm gonna watch
X.
Dog too.
X was-
X is on both of our
oh my
plex. If
God.
you want to watch X, it's on both of our
It
plex.
is a disturbing film. That's all I'll
good.
say.
But that's what I was.
no.
hoping for,
It's
yeah.
not disturbing in a horror, like scary kind of way.
that's okay.
It is just
I was
it's
expecting.
just gross.
Oh, well, I'm gonna watch it. It is called X.
Wait,
It's-
like Eli Roth, Hostel Gross?
no, probably porn. It's about the whole premise is they go to this barn to make a porno, and
Yeah.
then things start happening. So
I'm just
I
gonna
mean, I know
say
the premise. I'm
it's-
just like, I don't know if it's horror gross or
it's
grotesque
just-
gross.
It's like I'm never gonna watch it again. Gross.
Oh wow!
I'm gonna watch it.
I can't. I don't want to give it away.
No,
I
please
just wanna
don't.
Say
I don't know, like,
Was it good?
I didn't. No.
oh, he didn't like.
Oh
it.
wow!
No.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
let me rephrase that. The scenes with Brittany Snow
I
are
was
good.
gonna. Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Well, they were
Those
good.
can't be bad.
but
Hey,
no.
A24 has been coming out with some. They come out with some bizarre stuff
It is
sometimes.
that
but
is
sometimes
what it
I
is.
enjoy it.
It is bizarre.
But I enjoy some of it. I didn't enjoy the
if
Green
you
Knight.
if you
The Green Knight
enjoy
was
the
terrible.
last 40 minutes of this movie, there's something wrong with you.
See, you're probably feeling this way like we did about the Green Knight.
The Green
Like
Knight
we
was
went in
terrible.
and I think it
a
started out
terrible
okay,
movie.
and then it was terrible.
It was a
It
terrible.
got
movie.
halfway through, and I was like, "What is
Lamb
this
was
trying
great,
to
though.
be?"
It was weird too.
Lamb?
Yes,
Oh
Lamb.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
No.
Alrighty, let's move on to
Okay.
our headlines. Let's talk about some movie headlines.
Movies.
Shaka Khan.
Britney Snow.
Shaka Khan.
That's Jimmy Morris saying that ain't no sock in my crotch.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Can y'all what quote is that movie from? Finally, I didn't do a silver bullet.
Oh, I
quote.
wasn't even paying attention to you. What you say? I was making noises over here, man.
Do it again. Do it again.
That's what you do the whole show.
I know.
You just make noises.
Because it entertains me. I don't care if it entertains anyone else.
See,
It
I don't-
keeps me
it's
happy.
From
This
the
is-
Anchorman, isn't it?
No.
What is it
What'd you
from?
say?
I said, this is Jimmy Morris saying that ain't no sock in my crotch.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
John Lovitz in The Wedding Singer.
Oh yeah, I've seen that movie.
so good.
Don't remember that.
He's
I
like,
don't remember
he's
that.
losing his mind.
I remember
Yeah, I
that.
remember
and I'm
that.
reaping all the benefits.
Yeah,
I
I remember that. And
So
the
good.
and the
I think your camera's off. a
and
little
the Arquette brother that was the boy George or Arquette's sister.
Yes!
He's actually trans
Do
in real
you
life.
really
So,
want
yeah.
to
That's
have-
David and
See,
Patricia Arquette's
we
sibling.
look, this trans,
Nobody
this
does
thing
that.
has gone way beyond it needs
Yeah,
to. We've
yeah.
already crossed that bridge.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be trans rights, all this.
That
We
is-
did it back with The Wedding Singer.
That is David and Patricia Arquette's brother or sister now. But
So wait,
See,
he
the
was a
problem was back then we made fun of it. Now
well,
we
he was
can't.
he was a cross dresser.
Yeah.
But now he's trans.
Well, every movie he's apparently because even in Wedding Singer he has like his female name or whatever. On
I
it. He's
just
always
I do
been
love the
trans.
part where it's like
I didn't know that.
Robbie's getting stood up, or well, Robbie.
But every
AKA
role he's
Adam
ever played
Sandler,
is a trans
and he's
person.
getting stood up at the wedding, and he just like goes into his little thing on it, and he just starts like.
you really?
Well, even though he starts breaking crap, and it just cuts away to the audience, and he's like, "Oh God!" he like bites.
But I went down the rabbit hole because I was curious about that person when I found out he was related to the Arquettes,
I'm
and
sure
apparently
you were.
every role he's done has been like a Boy George impersonator.
Where's his Oscar
So
for breakout performance,
every role,
for groundbreaking
every role.
trans advancement? Where's it at? Where's it at?
Oh, my nose.
That's a good
I don't know
movie.
his name.
Wedding
I want
Singer
to
is
know
a
his
good
name. What's his
movie.
name?
I don't
The
know.
other
I'll throw it
Arquette.
out there. The other Arquette. We need an Oscar for the other Arquette.
The trans Arquette. I don't know.
That just sounds like a.
Yes.
Oh, it sounds like a
Friends Arquette.
It's like a freaking puppet
I
movie.
guarantee
or
if I
something.
Google that,
The trans Arquette.
watch. I'm gonna Google it, and I guarantee you it pops it up. First, Alexis Arquette.
It's not a. What was the? What was
his name?
What's his
before?
dead name? Come on, Eli or not Eli? What is it? Ellen.
Robert Arquette.
Robert Arquette. Why?
Bobby.
Alexis Arquette sounds.
Like a porn name?
No. What else? What else? What else has he been in?
He was in an episode of Friends as a Boy George.
No. There was another one. I swear there was another movie I've seen.
Oh, let's see. High score. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, not the show.
I'll have to look it up. I know I've seen him in something else.
White Man's Burden. I don't know.
No.
About Pulp Fiction. He was just
Y'all need to watch
person in
that
Pulp
movie.
Fiction.
What?
White Man's Burden.
I've
White
s-
Man's Burden.
Oh, okay.
That's John Travolta.
He was in Sometimes They Come Back Again.
All
All
right, let's move on to our
Yeah.
headlines. Let's get into the headlines.
He was in Bride of Chucky.
All right. So our first headline up for the evening just happens to be about the national. Oh gosh,
He was
I
in
forgot the
Killer
title.
Drag
National
Queens.
Association of Theater
That's it.
Owners.
That's it.
I have
NATO.
I have to say this one. He was in Killer Drag Queens on Dope. That was the name of the movie.
That's a Lake movie right there.
That sounds
I'm gonna
like it.
Google it. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
We're all gonna be sitting there.
Go
and we're
ahead.
just be like,
Go
"God,
ahead.
These trans are hot.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right.
Okay.
Let's talk about the National Association of Theater Owners chief
The chief. He speaketh.
speaking about
Box office.
the box office and how it's doing right now, but also
Something that's irrelevant.
the Oscars and how
Mm.
enthusiasm is waning and how
Mm.
relevant they really are to box office boosts.
Because they
Now, some of
aren't.
this he attributes to, of course, movies like Coda that just won Best Picture, and talks about how the fact that it was mostly a movie released on streaming before it came to the theaters to try to boost some, I guess,
Mhm.
exposure after the acclaims that it, of winning Best Picture.
Yeah.
I do actually want to read a little bit of this article here.
Yeah,
Um,
that first paragraph there.
Do you have it pulled up
Yeah, I
already?
have it.
Yeah. Oh, no. It wasn't the first paragraph.
The one about Coda is a gorgeous film, not that one?
Yeah, that one's it.
Okay.
That was
That's
it.
not the first
Yeah, go
paragraph.
ahead, though.
You're right. I was wrong. Anyways, Coda is a gorgeous film, but we all are concerned about the continuing relevance of the Oscars because the ceremony used to be something really important for theatergoers around the world. Some of the movies that used to be in the mix had a very significant theatrical box office like Titanic. It's different now. Spider-Man No Way Home didn't even get nominated for Best Picture, despite its commercial and artistic success. It's Sony's biggest film of all time. What about No Time to Die? It was a pretty important Bond movie. It's about whether Academy voters have lost touch with what movie fans like. The Oscars show has become less and less relevant. It's unfortunate.
I wanted to keep going, too.
Okay, I can.
Sorry.
Apple released Coda
No,
in
not that part.
cinemas. Okay, a lot of streamers. If it's on the screen, I will read now.
Yeah, Anchorman.
Yeah.
A lot of streamers do that. It's not about streamer versus non-streamer. We are still in the middle of a streaming war. Companies that are trying to build their streaming service are still making bad business decisions just to get subscribers in order to win the streaming horse race. That's not a long-term business philosophy. That's a short-term fight. There's no doubt that a movie released exclusively in theaters and then later on whatever streaming service fares better. Would you like me to keep going?
No. That
going?
covers it, because I was going to ask Heroes questions on his opinion and what he thinks of as
I see both sides, and it's hard because I get his point. Like, I agree. Like, a lot of like some of the like Saving Private Ryan, Forrest Gump, Titanic, those were massively popular and successful films in theaters and went on to be Best Picture winners because they are amazing. Spider-Man No Way Home was a great movie. I completely understand why it's the highest grossing film of 2021. I don't think it's Best Picture material, though. So I get his point in the relevancy of, the Academy doesn't even look at some of the big box office films anymore. But at the same time, I feel like the big box office films aren't the same quality as some of the ones in like the 90s when you got Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. Saving Private Ryan is one of those films that not only did it do well at the box office, but it wasn't popular. I'm trying to think of the right way to word this. It wasn't its popularity that made it deserve an Oscar. It was the quality of the film. And I think that's like the quality of the film just happened to be a popular film, whereas No Way Home, I would argue and say it's a very high quality. Again, that's a film that I think we could all agree hit every emotional spot that we wanted it to hit. I cried during that freaking movie 2 or 3 times with the interactions between the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of popularity and quality there, but a movie that deserved an Oscar, maybe not so. Neither was Black Panther, and they were pushing for that.
Yeah, that one didn't need to be nominated.
But you're right. The movies that we're talking about, like Titanic and Saving Private Ryan, and I'm trying to think of another.
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
And I do agree with him that the Academy is way out of touch with what audiences like.
Yeah.
He's definitely right about that. I do think there
were. That's kind of what I wanted to hit on is what do you think that is? What is the key thing that you think? I'm like, obviously, I think we would all agree.
A Quiet Place 2 was more worthy than some of the movies that were nominated. That was one mass audiences liked.
Yeah, well, notice all the movies that mass audiences liked were movies without an agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
all
true
of the
too.
movies that have something to throw down your throat are the movies that, the critics might enjoy it, but audiences don't necessarily enjoy it.
Well, and as funny enough that we didn't intend to do this, but we were just joking about the whole, other Arquette. And it's like, I think it's funny because that whole entire, just whether it's trans issues or LGBTQ this or that or some other leftist political agenda, it's like it's become very blatantly clear which side of the aisle Hollywood is on and what side or what movies they will award and also profess as being their favorites and put out there for people to they'll push out there for publicity's sake. And we know that it fails. They flop almost all the time, no matter the marketing. And they can do so because, we've brought it up before, you have the tentpole huge blockbuster film. I mean, look, I liken it to Spider-Man No Way Home and Black Widow. I don't agree with him throwing Spider-Man into that category because, it might have been the most
You're talking about Black Panther?
No, Black Widow like
okay.
from last year, being like some of the biggest blockbusters of the year, or Shang-Chi. I mean, they were all Marvel flicks that came out that were some of the biggest blockbusters last year. The problem I have with trying to say that, that inherently makes them part of the Oscar category talk.
Kong versus Godzilla? It was pretty big last year.
It was not. It came out on streaming.
And it was they said their most successful. Actually, I think
Mortal Kombat was,
ended up beating it. So, but it was at the time. It came out in theaters too. It was
It
simultaneous.
did, yeah. But it's interesting.
I'm just saying they said
because-
it was a huge success. You don't think it's worth an Oscar?
Yeah.
They're making a sequel. They've said they're developing a Kong versus Godzilla
Well,
2.
of course they are. But look, I liken it to the blockbusters of yesteryear.
I know,
Your
a
Independence
massive movie.
Days. Your gosh,
Independence Day was great.
Total Recall. You're talking about movies.
RoboCop.
I mean, and here's the thing. You go back and look at the box office of some of those big blockbuster films, and they're not as massive as they are now, but in terms of, a dollar for dollar scale,
Back then
obviously,
they were hits, yeah.
they were huge hits. And they are what created some of, sometimes your more intimate flicks that were nominated for your Oscars. But again, I think you do a disservice by trying to say that inherently, if you are successful, you're not Oscar worthy. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's a good argument to make. But I also don't think by virtue of being successful, you're therefore Oscar worthy either.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's the problem that a lot of people themselves today are finding when they try to throw Marvel movies in there. And I'm like, no, they're not Oscar category worthy films, except for some of the technical categories. Specifically because, yes, while Spider-Man might have emotionally touched us on a certain scale, it's because we grew up with the Sam
A lot of
Raimi
it's
Spider-Mans
nostalgia,
and
yeah.
it's throwbacks.
Yeah.
That's not going to affect the next generation in 50 years like a Saving Private Ryan or Forrest Gump that have these universal human nature aspects.
Schindler's List.
Schindler's
I don't know.
List.
That movie
I do
gets
feel
me.
like Infinity War and Endgame are movies that are going to stand the test of time.
No. I think they're I don't. I think they're for our generation. They're going to be movies that people watch, but I don't think it's like Jurassic Park. Actually,
The first Jurassic Park,
Park's
yeah.
way
Jurassic
better.
Park, yeah.
Jurassic
and I
Park's way
think
better than
Infinity
those.
War and Endgame will be like like this generation's Star Wars in a sense that it'll be popular past its time because of its cultural relevance. Like I don't think it's.
I'll give you that, but I don't. I would say maybe this generation Star Wars, but even still, I wouldn't say as massive as Star Wars.
Not the originals, but I would say Endgame and Infinity War trumped anything Disney's done with other than maybe The Mandalorian. But I mean, they definitely trumped all the movies that Disney made. So
Which movies?
He's
that
talking
Disney
about the
made?
Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, especially the new trilogy.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
They've done nothing good with that IP. I would agree, but it's like I think what maybe we've argued a lot on the show, and correct me if I'm wrong, is more so coming from the perspective of, yes, we want to see more diversity, not in terms of political ideology. It's just, release the agendas, get the agendas out of the film, not swaying one way or the other, tell a just good story that connects universally. And I can guarantee you that you're still going to have a very popular, successful film where you don't have to nominate Don't Look Up because it only appeases one side of the aisle.
It wasn't the best film, but it did extremely well, and audiences loved it. Sonic 2 was one that didn't that I can think of have like some blatant agenda. I mean, it was just about the Sonic mythos and entertaining.
Yeah, but would you see Sonic 2 nominated for an Oscar?
No, but that's what I'm just saying. It's a film that did well because it was a children's. You could take your family to see it without having to be afraid of anything crazy in there.
I would argue that, though, that it's a family film. That's really why it was successful. Because we know whether it's crap or not. If it's geared towards kids,
we've
most
seen-
people...
most kids' movies are successful.
Yeah, but
I mean, at the
we've
box
seen the
office,
ones Turning Red didn't do as well as they thought it would.
But I also think that's because they went... Didn't they...
Well,
was that streaming?
It was
It was
streaming only.
limited?
I'm pretty sure it was in theaters too. Disney's released all of their movies. Well, they didn't do Luca, so maybe that one
I
was.
thought
only
that was
streaming.
streaming
streaming
only.
only.
Yeah,
I'm
that
pretty
may have
sure it
been.
was. And
May
they
have
didn't...
been.
I don't think they've released numbers
They
for who
haven't
watched it.
So
But,
they don't.
I mean, we
Disney
know
lies.
Lightyear's coming out.
They don't want to tell us.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh, Lightyear will do great no matter what.
Or they'll wait 6 months from now and say, it was great. We
Yeah.
got the 6 month
But
numbers.
Lightyear has the franchise name to keep it because of Buzz Lightyear. It's going to do well.
and
regardless.
would you argue, too, that we're seeing more of that nowadays than anything? Like, it's like if there is a success, it usually is because it harkens back to something that was already previously
But it
successful.
doesn't
or
have
something,
to
yeah.
because let's look at Fantastic Beast. It's not doing well, and they they said this is the lowest of any Harry Potter related film that they've grossed so far.
Almost to the point where they think, is this going to be the end?
Yeah, maybe, but that's jumping ahead of headline. But we can go there if you want.
Let's go there
Okay.
since we're already on.
I
that
mean, they're
topic.
both headlines are Warner Brothers, so
Yeah, but
because Warner Brothers sucks right now. I don't
Well,
know
that's
what
the
they're
interesting
doing.
thing.
Actually,
I mean,
they all suck.
could
not just
both of
Warner
these
Brothers.
headlines be leaning towards the fact that they're trying to finally see the writing on the wall?
I mean, it would really depend on if they finally just wake up and say, look, let's focus on making something that's true to what fans like and not trying to shoehorn whatever dumb agendas into either. Because let's face it, DC and Harry Potter, both the Wizarding World, both of them have had agendas shoehorned into them in certain films. This one definitely. We got word last week, we didn't mention it, but that they edited out a few lines in this movie just for China that directly reference Dumbledore's relationship with Grindelwald. He actually says in the movie, he mentions, I was in love with you. So, I mean, it's blatantly open. And, of course, that's a no-no in China. But it's such a big deal in America. We have to have that representation.
Right.
But we don't need that representation
Well, and I find
in
it
China.
incredibly.
They want
They want the money.
Yeah,
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 how
yeah.
critical is that?
And
Exactly.
they definitely need it now because I think it said it did like 54 million. I have to pull that. I'm going to pull it up.
54 million is terrible
Domestically,
for
but
that.
that's still terrible.
Well, but
still.
it's interesting because we also know that in light of this, it's like even with Disney and what was it? The recent movie that they just came out with. I forget. There was something where they. I forget the headline last week. We forgot to mention it.
Shoot.
It wasn't about this one, but I find it so interesting that Hollywood does want to. They're very much, or in the media, I guess you could say, it's more of it's more of a spectacle of the media that they're not going to raise concern over the fact that they're willing.
I was wrong. It's not 54 million. It was 43.
Even worse.
Which is terrible. That is a terrible opening weekend.
But it's funny how it's like the media will not highlight these same atrocities when companies will make them oversee those decisions overseas. It's only so much as long as they're indoctrinating the American culture here that they'll be allowed for it. But it's like, but Disney can go make Mulan and have in the same area of Uyghur
Where they have
Muslims being in
Muslim
concentration
camps.
And yet, at the same time, they're not going to be called heinous and atrocious. Yeah. They're only going to be called heinous and atrocious if they don't go speak out against the Florida don't say gay bill.
And that should show you too that these companies, Warner Brothers doesn't care about whatever agenda is in the Fantastic Beasts movie, because if they did, they wouldn't censor it in other countries. They care about the money, and because they know it's a hot topic right now, it's like, if we put this in the movie, we can appease that crowd, and they're hoping, they're banking on the fact that most people won't give a crap, will go see the movie anyways, and then the crowd who loves the whole agenda will come and praise it.
I was going to say, it shows you who has the louder voice. And even though it's not a majority of people, and I think this is where the fight back has to happen, is because, again, when you have these agendas shoved down your throat consistently and constantly, it not only becomes tiresome for the public at large, but ultimately you have to fight back with your own values that you want invested, because if you don't, then those are the values that are going to get trumped and walked all over whenever the day comes that a bigger, louder minority comes in to do so.
Well, it's funny because in some ways, I think this is all beginning to backfire on them, and I'm hoping eventually the more things keep to backfire, the more they realize, let's just focus on making good movies people want to watch, because trying to keep up with everything's not working. But it has backfired in a sense that a lot of people like us no longer care anymore, so we didn't go see the movie because we're just tired of it. And then but I want you to talk about that too, because I think you're just unimpressed with the series as a whole. Oh, it's not good. I mean, I didn't honestly. I already knew because of J.K. Rowling's statements years ago about Dumbledore's gay. You didn't know, so obviously I knew they were going to go there. So I expected that. But outside of that,
story arc,
outside of that, the story, like there's so many things that, like, even watching the movie, going off of like knowledge of the books, I was like, none of this makes sense, because
it's retconning a bunch of stuff.
There is a certain kind of like logic to the way magic works in the books. Like, it's not just, you can't just wave your wand and do whatever you want. It doesn't work that way. Like, there is a certain, like, you have to know what you're doing, and certain things are unattainable. Like, even with magic, you can't just will whatever. And they're doing stuff in this movie where I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, they're just like, whatever I want to do, it's magic. And then like there's things where he's like, where they teleport the one character through a port key, and then he comes out the fireplace, which is Flu Network in the books, and I'm like, he's like, man, you gotta love the Flu Network, and I'm like, he touched a port key, like, what's going on here? It's like, anyone who's not read the books like doesn't care. It's just like, oh, he teleported. But I'm like, that doesn't even fit with how like the magic works in the books.
The continuity is
so
off.
I'm like, it's like, so already you're butchering like the continuity, and it's just logically.
And this is from the original author herself.
Yeah.
And it's
what I
made
find.
for the screen.
And everything just feels like it's kind of like made up on the spot. Like you could, with the Harry Potter books, you could tell, like she said, she always knew how it was going to end, and you could tell there's a plan from beginning to end. In this, it does, and it seems like she's just making everything up as she goes along, and it doesn't fit. I'm like, this makes no sense, or this is just dumb.
Does it seem like a cash grab?
At this point, it seems like a milquetoast. We're just gonna, because people didn't like the last movie. It was kind of like Last Jedi, where they tried to like revert a lot of things in this movie. Like, oh, we said this in the last movie, but really, this is what happened. And it just doesn't work. It does. It seems like a cheap cash grab of like, we got to try to fix this because people didn't like the last one.
Right.
And instead of like doing fan service like JJ did with the last Star Wars, it was just kind of a milquetoast like, oh, well, we're not going to do anything because now we're afraid of offending anybody. So I was just like, all right. But yeah, it just...
Well, they offended so many people. They're not showing up to the box office.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
because the most offensive way you can offend moviegoers is by not honoring their intelligence.
Well, like I said, none of us care. And then you have all the controversy with J.K. Rowling because apparently she's anti-trans, which she's not, but whatever. But she's anti-trans and said horrible things. So then you have those people boycotting the film. Then you have the ordeal with Johnny Depp. So everybody's boycotting because they don't think it's right that he was fired and Amber Heard's still in Aquaman 2. Yeah. And then you have all the nonsense with Ezra going on now. So it's like at no point, it's like Warner Brothers just needs to get their crap together because between their stars and the J.K. Rowling that's writing crap, and it's like whatever y'all are doing, it's not working. And we see that with DC as well. It's not just the wizarding world. Our next headline is about how they're rearranging everything with DC now because they don't know what to do.
I don't even feel like with DC, I don't feel like they've gone full. Like, I don't feel like any of the Snyder films had this blatant, like, agenda. But I feel like they have this it's like, I'm intentionally going to make these characters so deep and dark and depressing that nobody's going to like them anymore.
Well,
that's the problem.
It made me think of like mid-2000s rock bands that were like
emo grunge.
Emo grunge.
I hate my life.
Right. I've got to wear eyeliner and like straighten my hair and make it dye black.
Don't talk to me, Dad. I'm going to go strangle myself.
I'm going to go play in traffic.
My parents don't love me. That's not true, Johnny. You don't love me.
Oh, welcome to the Black Parade. Oh, I hate my life.
Why do they all sound like that?
That's not how they
all sound the same.
When is my life? Can I? When is my... Take my life.
But yeah, I agree. And that was my problem. It's like, okay, Batman being dark and broody fine, but when Superman doesn't even like being Superman, I'm just like, dang. We're supposed to be a symbol of hope. Like, what hope is, it's like,
I hate my job.
Yeah.
Everybody hates.
The burdens are on my shoulders.
He's like Alan Rickman in Hitchhiker's Guide. Everyone hates me.
But no, I also don't think, too, that I feel like, yes, we've had a lot of DC movies, but they've been so all over the place that I'm like, I have no inkling.
I don't know what's connected and what's not.
Right.
I know the Batman's not connected, and I know Joker's not
connected.
Well,
but only, and that's even loosely.
I assume everything else is connected, but it's kind
because
of...
Because in some of those cases, there's still some characters that are hopping over to do that same character in like another movie, but that franchise isn't connected. It's like, we're still supposedly getting another Jared Leto Joker, but we've got...
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, that was... maybe that's
Michael
been canceled.
Keaton's going to be in the Flash
Well, so
movie.
is Ben Affleck, because it's a multiverse movie.
Oh, my God.
See, but that's the thing, too. Like, and we've talked about this at length before on previous shows about how DC was always trying to play... It felt like they were trying to play catch-up with Marvel to get the same kind of success in terms of linking the movies together. But it's so disoriented and so disjointed that I feel like we haven't even seen a full breadth of DC movies, even though we have.
Oh, there's been tons of them, but
but it doesn't even feel like
cohesive.
Nothing cohesive to the point of like, even if you hit a reboot button, it's kind of like, what are you rebooting
Like,
from?
where do you start from?
Yeah.
It's like we're just
Yeah.
starting over. Well, there's been a rumor that like the Flash movie is going to be their reboot since it's a multiversal film. Like they're going to, however they do it, I guess with keep whatever. I guess they'll keep Jason
I mean,
Momoa and
do
Gal
you think
Gadot
that's what
and-
these big changes allude to?
I don't. They said they're
this
looking
is
at
where we're going to finally have an anchor?
they're looking at getting someone that to be like a Feige figure is what the article was saying. But I'm like, I thought they had already tried that once before. Like, what do like they have? I think Hamada now is over everything, and I'm like, what are they doing with him? Like,
Well, before that, it was Snyder. Snyder
Yeah.
was over all of it.
yeah, and that worked well.
Yeah.
Well, and it was funny because we were all thinking they were here. It
well,
was like after the Snyder cut, they're going to bring him back for Snyderverse.
The idea, though, is that this isn't necessarily Warner Brothers as much as it now is Discovery, who's they're merging with, that is coming in and saying, okay, we're resetting everything because y'all have handled this poorly, and we know this is going to be a massive franchise. So apparently Discovery, it says it's been less than a week since Discovery closed its $43 billion deal for Warner Media. Discovery, David Zaslav, the CEO of the combined companies and top leadership, has been toying with the idea of turning DC into its own solidified content vertical. So basically what they're talking about is like Marvel Studios is its own studio owned by Warner Brothers or owned by Disney. Instead of Warner Brothers making the DC movies, they want to make like a DC studio that has its own
See, and I thought
figurehead.
they already did.
No,
I thought they already
yeah.
had that.
No, it's just DC
Just been
because
Warner
DC's
Brothers.
owned by Warner Brothers, so Warner Brothers just makes the movies. So apparently they want them to have their own,
Well, okay.
like Lucasfilm and Pixar and Marvel.
But Disney
they
still
all,
funds those
They
movies.
still but they still
But
are.
they also have
they
their own
have their
production
they have their own
houses.
CEOs. They have their own studio heads that are run that way. Disney doesn't have to micromanage everything. They could say you're in charge, and then when something doesn't turn out, they can go to that guy and be like, "What's going on?" They're
You're
not
fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and luckily they have Kevin Feige with Marvel, who has a pretty good reins on things. Lucasfilm has Kathleen, I
Kathleen
guess.
Kathleen
yeah.
Kennedy. No.
And Pixar used to have John Lasseter, and now they
We've
have
seen
Pete,
what Pixar's become.
Yeah, well, they have Pete Docter, and I think is it Jennifer Lee? I think she's might be Disney.
But sadly,
Animation.
those
I
two
don't
have
know.
not. They've not near. And even
I
Pete
was-
Doctor's given us Inside Out. So
Pete
don't get me
Docter
wrong.
was a fantastic director.
Incredibles too, I believe.
I think he's just that was Bird.
Oh,
Andrew Bird. But
okay.
Pete Docter did Up, Inside
Oh,
Out.
Up is
Yeah,
fantastic.
he's done a lot of really good ones.
I don't know if he's lost his luster or
I
what.
think he's just
but
given into we're going to go like he's just like
I
think
don't know. I don't think. Again, I think so many of these people. You've got to understand, at the top echelon of somebody who's been working in this industry for so long, I get it. Yes, we need to be hard on them and say fight the good fight, but there are so many people who just I feel like the rug's been pulled out from under them, with regard to the woke stuff and the leftist agendas being put into movies. I feel like so many people that really had good faith efforts of trying to make sure that their films were just all encompassing, universal. They've had a barrage of people who come in with these agendas who say, well, I can't make art unless it has this message in it.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree with that, well, then you are part of the problem. And a lot of these people who are just like, they're raising their hands and they're like, I'm sorry. I didn't know I'll do whatever. I just want to go along to get along. I come in here. I love doing my job. I love this work. And it's like, I think a majority of people are in that boat. And this completely has caught them off guard. And on so many of them who are good people who just want to make great movies and great artistic content have just been, sucker punched. And I'll be honest, it's like, with regards to, that's at least a far cry from where DC's at. DC has just been in bad management, and maybe a separate production company
maybe it'll help.
under
I mean,
a DC name will actually give them the levity they need.
but it depends on who they put in charge as well, because you do have to have that visionary like Feige who knows the comics, knows the characters, and can produce something that it doesn't have to be page for page what's in the comics, because Marvel isn't, but something that's still true to who the characters are. I mean, it's fine to have, like I said, broody Batman, but you want a Superman that represents hope.
Yes.
You want a Wonder Woman
Truth,
like
justice, and the American way.
yeah, you want a Wonder Woman like the
Damn it,
first
give it to
film.
me.
You don't want
What's he say?
sequel
What's
Wonder
he
Woman
say? Truth, justice, and
and
what?
all that stuff. He just says like
Is
and
that
all
what he
that.
says?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow! I
Because
forgot
they
about
wrote
that.
it out
Yeah.
intentionally.
Yeah. He said,
Because
does he still stand for truth, justice, and all that stuff? And it's like, okay, cool, I guess.
They couldn't even say it. Even though they were mocking it in the line, they couldn't
Yeah.
even say it.
No.
Because it's too much.
Because
And
America's
it does.
bad.
It shows you right there. It is a fundamental philosophical difference. And you cannot have these people at the helm making good content that people are going to want to consume. Yes, based on the virtue of the name alone, you're going to get people that rush to the theaters. But the reason you have not had a mainstay DC franchise that has continually been successful and not constantly up for disappointment is because you don't have someone at the helm who really is truly fighting for these characters to maintain their essence throughout the entire film saga.
Yeah.
And that's part and parcel of the huge issue with DC. And they're not. I mean, we thought Patty Jenkins was going to have it with Wonder Woman. Well, the first one was great.
Yep.
Wonder Woman 84 was terrible.
Yep.
Now we still have Aquaman 2 coming.
Yep.
We still have another.
Well, now there's a rumor
Shazam.
that
Shazam 2's coming.
sequel's
Shazam
filming.
was great.
and again, this would definitely be a rumor. I haven't seen anything else, but I was reading something today that Patty Jenkins directing the third Wonder Woman is now in question. With all the stuff going on with Ezra Miller, they're questioning bringing him back, which is fine because I think he's awful.
Yeah,
but
he's terrible.
But it is funny because that just there's literally only one character I can think of that I think plays into having the different anthology type stories, and I think that's Batman. And it's only because we started it with the original Batman movie that was first taken, seriously. I think again with audience goers, and that was the Michael Keaton Batman franchise with Tim Burton. And then through consistently, you've had different iterations that. Minus Joel Schumacher, that you have at least had worthy attempts of presenting, and I'm fine with DC still saying, hey, we're going to have the Robert Pattinson Batman. He may not be our DC Universe Batman, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You can at least make that,
That
but you can't do that with Joker. You can't do that with this little band of characters
when you
over
start
here.
having duplicates of every character, it doesn't make any sense more. It gets
Right.
confusing.
Nobody knows what's going on.
Right. That's where I'm at with all of this because I don't know. Again, I thought literally I was thinking that the Batman was going to tie in with Joker, that they would have Joaquin Phoenix somehow or another, and then they bring this whole new Joker in at the end of the film, and I'm just like, okay, so now,
They
who's
got
the
three
Joker?
Jokers.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yes,
It's like, what do
right.
you want me to do? You want them to have these solo movies, but you don't want the same Joker to be in the
No, 'cause
solo
they're not
film.
connected.
That's
They're
connect-
just separate
I
stories.
understand it, but it
But
doesn't make any sense.
Yes, right. You're just confusing.
I mean, you look
everybody.
at the Marvel movies, that's one of the things they've done right, even though Shang-Chi is not one of the films that I feel like really fits in with everything. But once you see some of the other films, and I think when you see Strange 2, you're going to see how Shang-Chi fits into all of it.
Yep.
Like there's just everything fits.
Well, and
perfectly.
even when after the Infinity
Love and
Saga
Thunder
ended,
is going to be awesome.
Oh
And
yeah,
you-
that looks amazing.
I know,
gonna
that's
say,
gonna be
well,
The
amazing.
trailer looked great.
yeah, I had to put the link in the trailer, even though we were dogging on DC.
Oh,
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
it did just drop yesterday.
But it was good.
so-
I thought it looked really good.
But the thing is no, you have to also think about, like even with them
Nipples.
doing with Iron Man, it's just randomly
Yeah.
nipples.
God.
God. But no, like even with
you
the,
got to think. And he's like,
Iron Man retires, you don't fill in his shoes with some
Well,
other wannabe.
maybe.
Well, but then they make jokes about it with regard to Captain America.
Yeah.
You have the whole entire Winter Soldier set up with regard to, not only who's going to take the reins, but even the whole story arc in that Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
But see, even
where the
when
fake
Marvel
Captain
does
America
it-
isn't the real.
Right, yeah.
But
you
yeah,
know,
even when Marvel
Chris
does it,
Evans.
it makes sense because it's like, okay, maybe like Sam is filling it. He's the new Captain America, but he's not Steve Rogers. It's
Right.
not the same person.
Right.
Even when they get into multiverse stuff, like with Spider-Man, it's like you realize like they make sense of it. It's not like
They go to great lengths to make sure things are cohesive.
Yes,
and connect.
it's not just like DC where it's like, okay, here's a Joker movie with Joaquin. We don't know how that plays into anything. Oh, it doesn't. It's like, okay, and then now you have the Batman, but that's not the Batman of the DC universe. It's just Robert Pattinson, a solo story that now has the other Joker, and then Jared Leto's still floating around somewhere. I mean, we don't know.
Morbius is so bad.
Morbius is terrible.
I'm just saying.
that
But
was bad.
It was bad.
And
You didn't
now-
even see it.
no.
I just know it was bad.
It was bad.
based on your old review, and I didn't need to see it.
No.
I didn't need
Yeah.
to.
So it's just DC really is, I think, very confusing right now because they don't know what they're doing and they're trying to. Jason Momoa is popular, Gal Gadot's popular, so they don't want to nix them, but then they still want to reboot everything. It's like, look, you either got to wipe it all and start from a clean slate, or
Start things over with the characters that you have,
Yeah.
and just make them good. Like
Or
I
get-
still think freaking Henry Cavill is Superman.
He is. He's
He
good.
is.
There's
He's
no
a good
doubt
Superman,
that he
yeah.
should be the
He
Superman.
needs a better writer, a better
But,
director.
yeah,
And that's,
exactly.
I agree. That's my problem. Is they're wanting to try different things to see what sticks.
It's not the actor's
So-
fault that
so
you directed them poorly.
Rather than getting a better director and a better writer to do Henry Cavill justice, well, now we're just not going to worry about his Superman. We're going to go make Michael B. Jordan's whatever Superman, and then what's his name, Coates or what? That's he's going to write another. So now we have two different projects about two different Black Supermans going on at the same time.
Ta-Nehisi Coates, he ain't doing it. Is that who you're referring to?
It's not Ta-Nehisi.
Okay, I was gonna say that there's no way he's doing it. Gosh, that's
I don't even know
gonna
who
be
Ta-Nehisi is.
I didn't
Ta-Nehisi
know.
Coates. He's
I
gonna
didn't
be.
know there was a second one.
It's gonna be the most woke piece of
Well, he
garbage
is. He,
ever.
he does woke stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
But I
That's
didn't
why
think it
I'm
was
thinking
Ta-Nehisi.
it would not surprise me if they tapped him to be, you come write a superhero.
Okay, no, you're right.
Yeah,
I just didn't realize it was pronounced that way. Yeah, Ta-Nehisi. I thought it was
Ta-Nehisi
Ta-Nehisi
Coates.
Coates.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
okay.
bad.
I don't know.
Whoops.
Yeah.
My bad.
I don't know why I didn't connect. That
I
wasn't
greatly apologize.
Yes, he's writing one project. So I'm like, so not only are you abandoning Henry Cavill, but now you have two different Superman projects going on at the same time that aren't going to be related. We're doing
I think we need a black DC universe.
we're
Just
getting
split it.
Batgirl movie coming out that's still apparently connected to the old because J.K. Simmons is playing Gordon, which is funny because Black Girl's black in this.
Black girl.
Well,
That's it, man. I'm
She
telling
should
you,
be.
it sticks.
it's a black actress playing Batgirl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, are you talking about the one from?
No, this is the
okay.
movies they're making a movie
Now-
they're making right now because what's his name, George of the Jungle is playing the villain Firefly.
Brendan Fraser?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
He's coming back.
Yeah. Well, he's
Where
been
did
working.
all of this come
He's been-
from?
yeah.
I have not read this
So-
anywhere.
But what I don't understand is Barbara Gordon is usually Batgirl. I guess that's supposed to be her. She is Gordon's daughter in the comics. Gordon in the Batman is played by
J.K. Simmons.
no,
right? Or-
in the Robert Pattinson one.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's played by a black dude. The black
is,
dude. I
what's
forget
his
I
name?
can't think of his
Uh,
name from James Bond.
James Bond. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love him. He's a great actor.
He is.
He
He's
was
fantastic.
in he was in Wes Anderson's new movie and he did great. So I'm like, so the one that's not connected to the Batman with J.K. Simmons has the black Batgirl, but then the black Gordon is in the Batman, and in the comics that's I'm confused. Now I'm confused as a comic fan because I'm like, white Gordon has black Batgirl, black Gordon has nobody in those movies. Is this his daughter or not? I don't know. I mean, I know you could be adopted or mixed.
You don't
like,
have to figure
but
it out.
I'm just saying.
You
I'm
don't
like,
have to try to figure it out.
I have no idea what they're doing right now.
This would all be resolved. They just need to push the nuclear button and nuke this whole DC thing. And yes, start from scratch, end it now.
but that's the
Hey,
thing.
if you want to give Robert Pattinson and that, I'm willing to see what the other Batman movies have in store. If there's like a trilogy,
but it's like their
But we're
A-listers
done.
failed.
We're
So
done
now
with
they're bringing
everything
their
else.
B-list characters, and I'm like, okay, Marvel nailed.
You
their,
don't even need
That's what I'm saying.
B-list characters.
It's like Marvel nailed the A-listers before they started bringing in like Guardians of the Galaxy and
Yes.
characters no one ever knew. Now like DC's just like, well, we screwed up Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, so let's grab people nobody knows about and make movies about them.
Yeah, they're all over the. We just all right. Again, I don't know how many times we have to go over it on this show. DC's in disarray.
Well,
It's
let's
always the
see.
case.
Discovery apparently is planning on shaking things up. Their CEO says he knows there's massive potential in DC, which he's right. He's right. There is.
Of course there is.
Let's
But
see.
the problem is they want to look at it from a budget standpoint and a business standpoint. And the thing is that's fine. But
But-
you have to, in order to be successful, you have to
have an
create
audience.
something
It's new
that
leadership.
people want to see.
So let's see if the new leadership does something different. That's all I can say. I don't know. We'll see.
Yep.
Discovery's doing this merger, and apparently they have some plans. So let's hope they.
You know what else
Elon
is
Musk
crazy though?
just needs to buy.
Yes,
Warner
Yes,
Brothers.
there
Yeah,
you go.
he should.
Absolutely.
He
You know
should.
what else is crazy though?
What?
Your dreams.
Okay.
All of our dreams are nuts.
Are they?
Sometimes.
The ones we want to achieve.
I
and the ones
had
in our
dreams
nightmares.
in my head.
Let's roll that story time open.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
He's got a button ready. Are you not entertained? Yeah, you've used that.
I've used them all.
That's
What do you-
that's good. I
was
like
good.
that. That one works.
Well, that was for
'cause-
the dreams. The
Yeah.
entertain was for our craziness before.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I use
Always.
them all. He's like, you've used that. Yeah, they're all the
I
same.
know, but I'm saying like you typically use that one right after the unique weekly segment open.
Well, that's because you messed up. So I had. Are you not entertained?
Okay, so
You
what's
make a
the
gaffe.
Yeah, let's talk about dreams.
what is it?
Killing me, Smalls.
We want to
There we
talk
go,
about
that's a good one.
a dream you've had, but one that you remember.
A lot of
Well,
them.
Because this is sometimes
obviously
people
I'd-
don't have that much luck with dreams.
A
You
lot
wake
of
up
people
and it's
don't.
The
gone.
thing is if you don't remember them, then how the hell are we supposed to tell a story about it?
Well, that's why it's got to be about one you remember.
I actually remember a lot of my dreams. I know like a lot of people don't, and there are ones I've had where I don't.
Do you
but
have a
I
dream
honestly
journal?
feel like I don't keep a dream
Oh,
journal.
that's a good idea.
Some people do. They
Some people
write them
do.
as soon as they wake up.
But that's the thing.
so
Is
they don't
like
forget.
I don't forget. Like I feel like I remember more than I forget, which is unusual. I know. So like I've never kept a dream journal because I can think of all
I
kinds
tell
of crazy
people
dreams I've
about
had.
'em.
I do too.
Like
and
I've
maybe
told
that's why I
people, I've
remember
told
them.
my wife or told. I mean, it's like if somebody's in it, I'll tell them. Like, dude, I dreamt about this last night. You were in it. Like, it was weird. And
Now want to
But
start a
then,
dream
yeah.
journal.
yeah, that is a good idea.
I want to start one.
I mean,
or
if you-
even not even just a journal. What if you just did audio recordings? Like
That-
if you
yeah,
just-
yeah,
Let
yeah.
me pick up my
explained it,
phone
yeah.
and do that.
Because I, and
It's like
Yeah.
and
tonight
honestly,
I dreamed about Alvin and the
I don't know.
Chipmunks.
Okay, but have you ever done?
and they
like,
were gay.
I have definitely woken up and had like the vivid memory of the dream I just had.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
But and it's weird. I don't care. I talk to myself. So so I'll
think we all do.
explain the dream that I had out
That's when
loud.
you start answering yourself.
But no,
Well, I
Yeah,
do that
that's
with
true.
stuff. I analyze
But then-
a movie or a book I'll watch. I'll pause it
No,
and for like
no,
a
no,
half
no, no.
hour talk to myself
As-
about in this scene. This was really cool. Like I
but no. As I'm explaining it out loud, because it's so bizarre, and in the dream it felt so weird. It's like verbally, I can't get it out of my mouth. The weird crap that happened that I remembered.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how to process it. You know what I mean? So I don't even know if a dream
That's just because
journal.
you're mentally retarded. I don't
Well,
know.
I mean that's one aspect of it.
no.
But it's like I don't know if I could explain it like it through voice or if writing it down would be better.
Yeah.
Because then I'm at least tracking it. But it's sometimes I feel like writing
I mean,
is a lot easier to express and get the words
get
out
ya.
than explaining
I've
it
had
verbally.
those dreams where sometimes it feels a little funny, and then you get a little excited and you wake up. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You
Like
have the
But those
climbing-
happen through puberty and
Like
stuff.
climbing the
you know?
rope in gym class.
yeah.
Never had that dream.
That's from Wayne's World.
Is that the one where he
Oh,
dropped the
yeah,
pants drop
yeah.
at the top of the rope? Is that one?
No, he's the rope goes between your legs when
Legs.
you climb it.
Oh,
And
I
he's
was-
like,
I'm
makes
thinking
me
of-
feel kind of funny.
Thinking of an episode from Lizzie McGuire.
No.
Sorry.
Okay. So, does anybody actually have?
I'll have all
like,
kinds. You know, which ones do we share? When I was younger, like I still have like vivid, like there's 3 like nightmares I have, like I still remember because I remember like
Mine
one.
are my one is
I
a
have
nightmare,
real
but,
real dreams
night
too.
terror.
Like,
Yeah.
I've had those. I've had night terrors where I woken up and can't move, and I'm like
Yep.
I've had
Yep.
those.
Yeah.
Those aren't really dreams though. That's just freaky. But like I've had like I remember being real small and having this dream of. I know part of it I was being chased through Dixie Dozen, the Dirty Dozen, but it was like this little baby with like this inside out face that was just chased like that.
that really happened.
Yeah, well, probably.
Dixie does.
It's probably, but yeah, its face was inside out chasing me, and it was awful. I remember that one when I was a
He
kid.
was just trying to give you your ticket stub.
He probably. I remember like watching. I had this nightmare. Like I remember watching like Power Rangers with the big shark monster, and I
Yeah.
remember just having this nightmare. Like I don't remember seeing it in the dream. I just remember seeing this huge, massive silhouette of this shark shadow on the ground, and then it comes down and gets me, and then I woke up. I remember that one when I was a kid, and then I also remember being abducted by E.T. I don't know why. I was.
That's a friendly one.
I was because I was terrified. It was a nightmare. I woke up scared.
E.T. probed you?
Well, I don't know what he did.
Damn, Spielberg.
All I know
Look at
is
your
I was
butt.
laying in the floor and the window opens and this light comes through and my body just gets lifted up out of the window and I
Freaking
look
GTA.
and I look up and there's this ship.
It was
and then,
ETA.
Yeah. But I look up and there's this ship and E.T.'s staring out of the ship as I'm being lifted onto the ship, and that's all I remember. Did it happen? Maybe. I don't know. No. So yeah, those are 3 that I had as a kid.
I don't know. Have you had an anal prolapse
No.
since then?
I did have a dream that we were in basically we were all in Chernobyl, like in this abandoned warehouse.
Holy crap! How many
Killing-
do you remember?
Killing zombies.
This is way
no, this
more
is
than
a
I could
recent.
remember.
This is a recent
Oh
one.
my
Oh.
god!
This was back when I was playing. Like I was going through all the Resident Evils. And
Yes.
This was a This was an amazing dream. I love this dream. We were just in this like abandoned like factory, like
us?
Chernobyl. All of us.
Okay.
Awesome.
And we were just running around like blasting zombies and stuff like we were in a video game. And I was like, this is a
Freaking
great
like
dream.
Zombieland.
We were just,
Nice.
that was
Chernobyl.
a great dream.
That's
Yeah.
freaking
Freaking
awesome. Did we have like
radioactive.
hazmat suits on and crap?
No, we were just in like shorts and t-shirts, just blowing
we were
stuff
like,
away.
I don't care if I'm getting infected.
We're just
Let's
killing
just-
stuff.
Like the Toxic Avengers.
But it's like, it's funny you brought that one up though, because it's like, I definitely have.
Sometimes I dream about things that like I do a lot of. Yeah.
Right, I was gonna say it's like if I play a video game, like, or especially if I've been watched a show and I've just seen so much of it,
Yeah.
I'll definitely have dreams with the same either themes or it'll be consistent with like something that's going on in my life, but it'll be told as if it's like the way that show is shot and directed. It's very bizarre.
So I binged watched a bunch of the original Transformers cartoon and had a dream about the Transformers. So
There you go. But well, Sean, what about you? You have a dream that you remember?
I mean, there's plenty. Yeah, I would say like a scary one was from when I was a kid. It's kind of one of those nightmarish dreams that I've never forgotten. There's a lot of them that I have forgotten, but
yeah.
I saw Gremlins when I was like 5, and it terrified me. And and I think like you've told your story before about the night terror, and
that's
and
my
that-
main one.
that's really weird. I've never had anything like to that extent, but I now that I'm thinking about it, I do remember laying in the bed in my room. That was shortly after I was like always had my own room, but it was like when I started shutting the door and not having full access to my parents' room across the hall. And it was weird that year they got water beds were a big thing. You know, if you've seen Licorice Pizza, you know about that. But yeah, like so I had a twin-sized water bed, which is really weird. And I was laying in this bed. I had just seen Gremlins, and I remember hearing something in the little crawl space behind the waterbed, and the noise freaked me out to the point where I looked and kind of saw the shadow of something moving under there. And then I remember getting back into like position on the bed to just lay straight and still and kind of pull the covers up to where you couldn't see my face, and something grabbed my feet at the end of the bed and slid me down under the covers and pulled my feet like off the edge of the bed. And for years after that, I slept with my feet on the side rail of the bed, like hanging over the side, but I wouldn't put them anywhere near the bottom, like the foot of the bed.
Holy crap.
Because of that nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been my dad sneaking in there in the middle of the night and doing that all to me. I don't even know. But I thought it was a nightmare, and I've never forgot it.
Do you,
and
do you
and
tuck
it freaked
your
me
feet
out.
under the
Yes.
the comforter?
Yes.
That's what I do too.
Absolutely.
My feet don't come out from under the
No.
blanket.
Yeah,
They're
they don't.
always tucked
Yeah.
in. And
They
I
can't get you if your feet are under
Yeah,
the blanket.
That's right.
I believe it's because of that. Like it's
Dream
crazy.
101. That was I learned
Yeah,
that
it was
Inception.
terrifying.
Yeah.
But then, like, I mean, I told you all recently I had a really messed up dream, like about Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And and I'm
It's
not trying to,
what you think.
No, I'm not trying to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
like political or anything. It was just literally I woke up distraught to the point were my wife was like, we are getting ready in the morning. She was just like, "You're not talking. Is there something wrong? Are you mad?" And I was just like, "No, I'm not mad. I just had a really weird dream." And she was like, "Well, it's just not usually in the morning. I'm pretty."
Yeah.
I'm up. I'm ready to go. Like, I'm peppy. And she was just like, "You're not." And I was just like, "Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I had a dream about Joe Biden." And she starts laughing. She's like, "Oh, here we go." And I was like, "No, like literally me and Keith were doing an interview with Joe Biden in my dad's basement." Of all, and I will be honest, a lot of flipping dreams I have take place in my dad's basement. I don't know
Good
why.
times.
Yeah.
But yeah, we interviewed the guy, and we were starting to watch a movie with him in the basement.
What movie? Do you
I
know
have
what
no
movie?
idea. I do not remember.
Silver Bullet.
But it was a DVD because he picked it out of the
Joe Biden
DVD.
picked it?
Oh, Joe Biden
Yeah.
picked it out of the wall of DVDs.
Oh,
And,
that's a good one.
It was grumpy
Batteries
old
not
man.
included.
There we go. Batteries not
Yeah, something. No,
Mac and
Cocoon.
Me. I like Mac
Short
and Me.
circuit.
Yeah, so he's Cocoon is more like it. But no, so he picked the movie and put it on. We started talking, and he literally just started bawling in front of us. and he was telling us like, I don't want to do this. I can't do this anymore. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm being propped up by these people. They're telling me to do this, telling me to do that, sign this, sign that. He's like, I just don't want to do it anymore. And he was crying, and I literally felt pity for the guy.
Yeah.
And I felt sorry for him, like my grandfather when he was dying of cancer. Like I felt like I wish there was something I could do for this guy.
Yeah.
And I woke up with that feeling, like when my alarm went off, it
Sean's
was
like, we got to save Joe
yeah,
Biden.
it was in the part of that dream where I was like,
Save Joe.
yeah. And so when I woke up, that's how I felt. I was just like, man, like
Save the big guy.
Yeah. It was one of the big guy. It was one of those things, literally, where I'm just like, I wonder if God is telling me I need to stop being so hard on this guy. Maybe he really is just an old guy that doesn't know what he's doing, and I need to ease up on him.
Save
Joe.
Joe.
It's just weird. I
Save
don't know.
the big guy.
And
Save
then,
the big guy.
Of course, later that afternoon, I was like, F Joe Biden, so it didn't last very
it all
long.
came full
yeah,
circle.
Yeah, let's go, Brandon. It didn't all.
Yeah.
It didn't last very long, but I still remember. That was like weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's weird, but I can't remember what I dreamt last night.
It's funny because even when you talk about that, bringing up like an emotion, like you wake up with the emotion you had in the dream.
Flooding me.
Yes.
Like,
And I've definitely had dreams like that. Well, and it's weird. I've had like some kind of like weird dreams that are, I don't want to say, what's the right word? It's more so like not a projection, but like it's an inspiration of like an idea. It's almost like Inception. It's weird. Like in the sense that like you have an idea and this good idea that you wake up with, and it's it actually makes me mad that I haven't written some things down because I'm like, it's in how you respond to a certain way, or if you were
I've
presented
definitely gotten
with like
story ideas from dreams.
and it's like I wake up with this immense feeling of like, oh my gosh, like the creativity's running wild, and like this will be great, and then like I have like. But you're in such a daze. It's like, but I got to get up. I got to let Edie out. I got to, feed her. I got to get my coffee together. And next thing you know, my day's going.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, there it goes. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. And it sucks because it's like I do need to kind of take those moments because it's kind of like I think the way people describe whether sometimes you do your best thinking in like the shower or driving, and it's like, no, I don't do my best thinking like asleep. But I do, like, there are times where I've had vivid dreams that have brought forth like great premonition. That was it. Premonitions or like kind of this like if you do
Brandon's
need a
psychic. He has psychic dreams.
No. You just have like the motivation to want to act to make something happen.
Yeah.
And yet I get going in like literally 5 minutes of like having this moment of like I'm gonna change the world. It's like, all right, I'm waiting for my coffee to be done.
Yeah.
It's like I just want this to be over with. I gotta put my underwear on.
Oh.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course
the story I told Keith that I was like, we need to do something with that about the father accidentally shooting his own son in the middle of the snowstorm or whatever. That was all a dream.
Dude.
It was a dream.
Dude, yes. No, don't say anymore. Don't say more. We got to develop
I had a
that story.
dream
That'll be a
that
good
I asked
story.
this girl out, and she said no. So I went to school the next day and asked her out. She said no.
That's a premonition.
It was a premonition.
That was it. Yeah. Hey, I woke up one time thinking like, I remember I had Doom on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh,
And I had a dream that there was this.
The Rock was just
Yes, first-person shooter.
Go
I mean, in 16-bit.
yeah.
But no, I thought there was this like level creator, and I woke up and I was determined that I had not drilled through like every menu in the game, and I was like, there is a way to make levels on this game.
Mhm.
There is a way to do it. There's not
On the
but-
PC there is.
Yeah, right,
But
right. But it's like, man, you have dreams where you wake up and you think, oh no, this is legit. Like this
is
really
real.
happened, or this has got to be real. Like there's no way, but it's not. It's a
Yep.
dream.
That happens to me all the time. I'm wrong a lot.
Yeah, we all are. It's the
why we
price we
need
pay for
grace.
being human. Absolutely.
Father
Stu.
Stu.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank
think
you
so.
all so much for tuning in.
Tuning in.
Right there at the bottom of your screen, you see it.
I
See it.
wait.
Red Moon Book,
Here.
Red Moon Tweets,
Right in there.
I don't have it up on you.
Well, I'm gonna keep doing it until you do.
There you go.
Am I stroking it?
Oh yeah.
No, you're way up above it.
Oh, there.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, you're
whoa.
pounding it.
No
Stop.
wonder she said no. Red Moon
Brandon's
He's
best line
ET-ing
ever.
it. Oh yeah. Oh.
Brandon's best
Oh,
quote ever.
gosh. Here we-
I told her I loved her, and she said no.
Said no.
It was great.
But no, Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics, and search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube. And as always, there's that old-fashioned way, of reaching out to us. Email, also right there at the bottom of your screen, rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. She's coming.
She knows.
She
She
knows
heard
it's
the
the end of
email.
the
She
show.
I think
Thank
she
you.
hears the email, and she's like, "That's it. That's
Thank
my
you
sign."
so much
Email.
for tuning
That's her
in.
trigger word.
We hope you all have a wonderful week. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Bubbles.
the monkey, like Michael Jackson's monkey.
Yeah.
I like that.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.